Okay. Hello. Hoi. Hoi, me noi. What's going on? Oh yeah, it's just the, you're just being impatient? Oh, I see, okay. Everything's fine, no panic, this is up, this is running. This has now been updated for anybody who is a member and became a member in this last month. This has now been updated. It also now has Patreon members on it, so if you are a Patreon, you are now also listed down below. Thank you so much for your financial support. It is greatly appreciated. You keep this nonsense train running. You are the fuel to my nonsense, which is really actually just your nonsense, because realistically, without me, there would be no you, and without you, there would be no me. I hope you guys like the chat. The chat is like fixed, quote unquote. It's kind of fucking huge at the moment, but that's okay. We're live on Twitch and we were live on YouTube. The chat is also integrated together, and congratulations, you can post GIFs now. That definitely won't come back to bite me in the ass at any given point in time, but you know, we'll see. Fingers crossed that everything functions properly as best as it can. Also, the shorts are out for this month, so keep in mind if you make a clip and you post that clip, particularly on Twitch. I believe there's one more clip that I need to add that got made on YouTube, so that clip will go out as well. Whichever clip gets the most views gets to choose a video for me to review, or a piece of art that I'll work on for one day. You only get one day out of me, though. Anything more than that is more than I can handle. Yes, of course, you can throw things around now as well. Shall we do the goal? Shall we do the goal of the spice? Shall we unleash the spice today, perhaps? Are you guys interested? You guys want to release the spoos? Make sure you do keep an eye on updates, though, on Twitch, by the way, so you don't miss anything. Or sorry, yeah, on Twitch. On Patreon, to make sure you don't miss anything, and make sure you check the community tab, as well as you guys can now participate in the community tab, and that is fucking hilarious. So I definitely recommend doing that. If you've got some time and want to hang out with your fellow goblins, that is now the place to be. Let me just pull up this full Q&A here with the two former prime ministers, or two of the current living out of 3 prime ministers, I believe. I don't think there's more than that are still alive. I'm pretty sure it's only these 2. But let's mute that. And let's move on over, shall we? Whee! Yeah, not bad, right? Not bad. This thing keeps being a little bit off, but yeah, whatever. It's okay. Yes, you can throw cheese, you can throw bricks, you can just toss things around. Let's make the goal. Don't worry, it's only gonna be a low 5 super chats. Don't worry about it. Any color is allowed, absolutely. We won't be live longer than 2 hours, I suspect. I don't think so. But this is only 30 minutes long, so yeah, I think so. I think we'll be fine. Spice! We will be doing Q&As again soon, so if you guys want to fucking Q&A with me, but that's kind of the chill day has kind of become Q&A day, so you actually get that, like, every fucking week now. But I think what I'll probably do... Listen, Justin Trudeau's too busy banging Katy Perry, and hopefully he bangs the conservative out of her. So that's 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. I don't know. I kind of get why Trudeau wouldn't necessarily be a part of, or necessarily even want to be a part of this. I feel like I need to fix something on my you know, it's fine. It's fine. Don't forget to like and share the stream and all that shit. I'm not sure. The chat looks a little bit oppressive like this, doesn't it? I don't know. We'll tweak it. It'll be fine. All right. Do we have any other updates? I don't know. I don't think there's any other updates. I think that's everything. Did I miss anything? I think it's everything. Yeah, go check the YouTube shorts. Oh, don't mind my empty jug of water. Put that out of the way. I drank all that. Oh my god, that's so cursed. Maybe I shouldn't have it Luma keyed. It kind of looks way worse. Let's just not have it Luma keyed. Let's just not. I can change the background and make that stop, but let's just turn it off. That's horrific, our Renegade. That's fucking horrible. I hate it. Thanks. He needed to disappear to let Mark do his job. Yeah, he needed to disappear to let Mark do his job. He probably also needed to disappear just for his whole ass fucking mental health of everything that fucking went on. Like, dude, poor... I feel bad for the guy. The amount of, like, PR nightmare he had to deal with, that he was, like, clearly did not have the type of team that he needed to be able to deal with it. Why would you curse us with such a visage? Yeah, you're right. Good question. All right. So for anybody who doesn't know, the left is Jean Chrétien. In the middle is Stephen Harper. As you can see, they're almost color-coded. Okay, well, Harper fucked up and didn't wear a blue tie. This is our liberal, ex-liberal prime minister. This is our ex-conservative prime minister. Both of them served for a relatively long period of time. Actually, let me double-check the actual length of time. Jean Chrétien. I believe Jean Chrétien was prime minister for 10 years, if I'm remembering correctly. That's not fucking right. That's not fucking right. Jean Chrétien. There he is. He was the 20th prime minister of Canada. This face is so sassy. Look at this picture of him. He's so sassy, man. All right, so he was prime minister for, I believe, 10 years. December 10th, 1990 to December 12th, 2003. Okay. So he was in office. Yeah, oh, and then again... Wait. Member of Parliament. Oh, that's his, like, all of his Parliament stuff. How long was he the Prime Minister for? He kept us out of Iraq. That's, like, one of the big things that he did. Here we go. Prime Minister of Canada from 1993 to 2003. So, yeah, 10 years. And then he was followed by Stephen Harper. And I'll grab you a quick one for him. During Stephen Harper's administration was the 2008 financial crisis, in which he called on Mark Carney to help mitigate. Successfully, by the way. So that's good. I not very affectionately call Stephen Harper the Trump of Canada, because he's kind of like as much as Pierre Poilievre is trying to copy the populism and authoritarianism of Donald Trump, it is just like a sad imitation, as opposed to Harper, who is far more effective at actually doing some of the things that Donald Trump, or like that kind of thing that they want to get across. He was prime minister from 2006 to 2015. So just under 10 years. So, yeah. We can go through both of them if you guys are interested enough. It's definitely interesting, but I do hope you guys will learn a little bit about the way we do politics in Canada. This is, of course, on the CBC News YouTube. So if you are curious about learning a little bit about Canada, or want to know what Canada thinks about the current situation in the United States, and it's not going to be perfect. It is going to be like its own biased mainstream media to some degree, but it's not nearly as bad. But it will give you like a little bit of a vibe. So that's nice. Oh, you don't have term limits. No, we do not have term limits for our prime minister. You just get voted. But we also don't vote directly for our prime minister. The prime minister is the leader of the party, of whichever party he is a part of. So Jean Chrétien, in this case, was the leader of the Liberal Party, and that gets voted on by the Liberal Party. So the Liberal Party gets to pick whoever is going to be the leader for them, and then if the Liberals win the most seats in their districts, then that guy becomes the prime minister. So you don't vote for the prime minister. You vote for who you want to represent in your district. Whereas Stephen Harper was the leader of the Conservative Party at the time. Will I run for prime minister? No. No. I've said the word cunt and fuck and bitch too many times. You'd have better luck having Dapper as prime minister, let's be real. And one thing that I wanted to point out, because we've been keeping an eye on this as it goes on, is right now there is a problem that exists between the provinces, and it is that there isn't really free trade between the provinces of Canada. So they kind of make negotiation and work between each other for whatever they want to do, and there isn't no like real federal overrule. But they're looking at changing that to try to make free trade amongst the provinces. Now, some of them are signing on. Everybody's kind of signing on to it, but there's like a little bit of tension, of course, around something like that. It's a really big change. One of the worst things that Canada is doing right now is we're not trading with ourselves in a very productive way. So that's getting changed, but it is slow going. So a lot of them have signed on and agreed to work towards it, but working towards it is big steps. So one of the bigger steps that has been taken now is Ontario and Nova Scotia have signed a deal to allow direct consumer alcohol sales. So for anybody who like watches Debate Pub, or anybody who like hangs out around Landon, or hangs out around here where Landon's kind of been able to chat about it, or on Rum and Coke Night, you may have heard Landon complaining that in Ontario you can't get wine from outside of Ontario, and in Nova Scotia you can't get wine from outside of Nova Scotia, and in BC you can't get wine from outside of BC. Well, Ontario and Nova Scotia are looking to help fix that. So producers of beer, wine, and spirits can start applying for authorizations on Tuesday, and this was as of March 2nd. So that would be this coming Tuesday. For anybody watching this in the future, this is next week. This applies. So there's Doug Ford and the Nova Scotia Prime Minister Tim Houston. Now, both of these guys, I believe, are conservatives. So it's actually really, really nice to see that these are not prime ministers, these are premiers. So they represent their province, right? So these two guys are both conservatives that represent Ontario and Nova Scotia, respectively, and they are willing and able and are working not only just together, but they are also working with the liberal federal government. So our federal government is liberal right now. These particular provinces are headed by conservatives, although they do have liberals within their districts and stuff like that, but within districts within their province. Hey, welcome. BC has moved to... Yes, that is another thing that I do want to talk about. I'll get to that in a second, Red Cedar. Good point. Good shout out. Ontario and Nova Scotia have agreed to let their residents buy alcohol directly from the other province, part of the Premier's ongoing work to bolster interprovincial trade. Producers of beer, wine, and spirits can start applying on Tuesday to the province's liquor corporation for authorization to do the direct to consumer sales, a process that the premiers will say will only take a matter of days. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says strengthening interprovincial trade is a way to counter the effects of U.S. President Donald Trump's economic attacks on Canada. Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston says his goal is to have free trade countrywide, and this agreement is a stepping stone towards that. Houston says knocking down interprovincial trade barriers is a bit like whack-a-mole, but that direct alcohol sales is a great one to tackle because it is so visible for consumers and producers. I agree. I think this is a really good... Canadians love their alcohol, and the fact that almost all, if not all, across the entire country, we no longer have access to American alcohol at all, and like we killed the bourbon market. Means that like getting something now to start replacing those things and having new things to try is kind of exciting. So that's nice. I am so looking forward to being able to get Quebec cheese and Nova Scotia wine. Nova Scotia wine is also very, very good. Not knocking Ontario wine. Niagara is fantastic for its wine. Muskoka has some really, really good wines. But being able to have access to Nova Scotia wine, which is also very, very good, and having them have access to the Ontario wines as well is great. It's good for everybody. Currently, Ontario consumers can only buy alcohol from another province if it is listed by the Liquor Control Board of Ontario through the LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. So this is, if you ever hear me or any other Canadian bring up the LICBO, this is what they're talking about. LCBO, LICBO. So if somebody's like, I gotta head out to the LICBO, BRB, they're talking about the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. Does that sound confusing to you? Good, it should. LICBO sounds like a slur. It's almost a slur. It's a little bit, you usually say it's slurred. The LICBO. Handful of Canadianisms that only Canadians will understand. through the Lickbo's private ordering program, or if they were in another province and brought some bottles home. So yeah, you'd be able to order it in, but you'd have to, like, you're paying extra premiums and yada 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 yada. It isn't like Europe has any wine or spirits they would trade with Canada. Our Prime Minister is in Australia, making Australian deals. I'm so excited. I am so excited. I am really looking forward to just seeing what, like, things look like in the next 5 years. Like, I'm just really, really interested to see what that looks like and what things do be like, because it's gonna be crazy. I think there's a little no, that's the end of that. Yeah, it's just a really short little blurb. So I thought I'd bring it up, but I'll give you guys the link in case you want to check it out yourselves. Because I'm a nice guy like that. Hey, welcome. Okay, so daylight savings time. So daylight savings time is starting, I believe, this Sunday, and in British Columbia, which is the westernmost province in Canada. So, like, it's south of Alaska, north of Washington, right? It's sandwiched between there. It's the Rocky Mountains. That's British Columbia. And British Columbia, a long time ago, voted to stop doing daylight savings time. And they were like, we're gonna stop doing this. And to be nice and good neighbors, so we didn't interrupt trade and like shipping, a lot to do with shipping. We were like, okay, well, let's wait until the United States is also having a vote on this. Let's wait for the United States to finish their vote on this, address this, and then decide that they can then do the changeover at the same time to make shipping a lot easier for everybody involved. Well, the United States has decided that they haven't voted on it, kick the can down the line, for God knows what reason. I have no idea. If you're from the United States and you can explain to me why that hasn't been voted on yet, you, let me know. I'd love to hear why. But, Canada kind of just doesn't care to play nice and wait on the United States anymore. I believe I heard one Canadian describe it as, we'll hold the door open for you, but we're not going to wait forever. And so BC has decided that this is their last time changing their clocks over. It's not healthy for you. It's not good for anybody involved. Nobody likes it. It fucking sucks. There's not really any real reason why we do it. And I kind of expect that what's going to happen is that once BC does it, do not be surprised within the next handful of years, the rest of Canada will also stop doing it. So, you know, that's probably going to go away. But congratulations to BC. I will not be surprised to hear the rest of the country follow suit in the near future. Apparently they couldn't agree whether to permanently be on standard or daylight saving time. Are you serious? Really? Just flip a coin if it's that much of a bitch for you. Like, are you serious? Because we suck at doing everything. I am gonna do, like, a little bit of an open chat on Tuesday to kind of talk about, like, some things that I feel like I have a video to watch that brought up some interesting points, and it's like just American citizens in general. And I don't intend it to be like I'm gonna sit here and dunk on all the Americans. No. It is like I'm begging you, please don't do this. US believes in gridlock. Oh, I see. Washington voted to eliminate the time change too, but the stupid federal government won't let them. Oh, it's a federal government problem, is it? So our provinces... Do our provinces have more freedom from the federal government than the US states do? I wonder what that is comparatively. I don't know. That's interesting. I've never thought about that before. Questions for later. All right, let's get on with this. Again, we've got Jean Chrétien who was 1993 to 2003. Gay marriage was also a thing that happened when Jean Chrétien was prime minister, although he was against gay marriage. The Supreme Court was like, hey, no, we're doing gay marriage. And Jean Chrétien went, all right, cool. Sounds good. Stephen Harper did a lot of things that I'm not too happy with, but I'm trying to like think of something that he actually did that was good. The 2008 financial crisis, him pulling in Mark Carney was probably like the smartest thing he could have done. I do have a lot of my issues with Harper have to do with him giving up a lot of conservation land to business. But you know, some of that's getting undone now to a degree. Anyway, let's get started. We're almost 50% of the way there to a costume on Friday. You should if you super chat, it'll go towards that, and it will definitely make Wolf and what's his face angry, Jeremy. So if you want to piss off assholes, consider donating. Or consider super chatting. And you're getting a double whammy because the super chats will also go to the spice, which is currently the goal that is setting. We need 5 super chats to get there of any color. So it could be $1, could be less. Also consider doing membership if you can, on Patreon if you can, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. All right, let's get started. Blah blah blah. Who cares? Let's get to the shit people kind of care about. 2 old men bickering. This is gonna be very funny. Oh, it's so quiet. Hold on, let's crank that shit. Didn't he hide and dump a bunch of climate change data? It was weather data specifically, yes. That was a thing. It was very upsetting. I think a lot of it got saved, though. This is what I mean why he keeps saying that he's basically was the Donald Trump of Canada before Donald Trump. Ugh.
4 years ago, the historian J.L. Granatstein created a list of Canada's national interests. He argued few Canadians think about them, and that the federal government scarcely ever bases policy on them. It was a very short list, so here they are. The first, Canada must protect its territory and the security of its people. Second, Canada must strive to maintain its unity. Third, Canada must protect and enhance its independence. Fourth, Canada must promote the economic growth of the nation to support the prosperity and welfare of its people. And fifth, Canada should work with like-minded nations for the protection and enhancement of freedom and democracy.
I mean, those seem like good things to me. Do those things seem good to you? They sound good to me. It's still really quiet? It's not showing quiet on my end. It's showing like... Do you need me to put it back? Why? This is CBC News. Why is there audio trash?
4 years ago, the historian J.L. Granatstein created a list of Canada's national interests. He argued few Canadians think about them, and that the federal government scarcely ever bases policy on them. It was a very short list, so here they are. The first, Canada must protect its territory and the security of its people. Second, Canada must strive to maintain its unity. Third, Canada must protect and enhance its independence. Fourth, Canada must promote the economic growth of the nation to support the prosperity and welfare of its people. And fifth, Canada should work with like-minded nations for the protection and enhancement of freedom and democracy. I think it is probably fair to suggest that Canadians are thinking about those national interests more these days. We find ourselves at a moment that is unprecedented, I think, in our lifetimes, and for which...
It might be unprecedented in our lifetimes, but it's not unprecedented in Canada's lifetime. There's been plenty of times, there seems to be like an ongoing, like a relatively regular cycle that happens that is ostensibly Canada and the United States get cozy being buddy-buddy together, and then the United States gets kind of uppity and starts taking advantage of its population and its geography to put pressure on Canada to be able to take more and more and more, and then Canada backs off and goes for, gets more independent, and the United States ultimately fails and goes back to being a little bit more reasonable again, and then we start reintegrating our economies, And that seems to be a cycle. But every time the cycle goes on, Canada gets drifts a little bit, and is less integrated every time. Mostly. Not in totality and not on every single thing. You're going to be able to pick things where it's more or less. Like, our oil is very, very integrated with the United States, with all of the pipelines that go through the United States. So moving away in some cases is good, and in some cases bad. It's geographically very, very, very convenient to work with the United States. But with Mark Carney and what he's doing, and with how much technology has advanced since the last time this cycle has happened, which I believe was sometime after we started heftily integrating again after World War II, that being able to make a deal with India, which has already now been successful, traveling around to China, as well as going to Australia, which I will give it an honorable nod when it comes to decoupling, which is the word they're using, to having the United States and Canada's economies not being quite so heftily integrated. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Justin Trudeau, because Justin Trudeau has been working on that almost since he got into office. He's been working on that the whole fucking time. So a lot of the execution that Mark Carney, who I think is still probably the best person to be doing this execution and doing it in the way that I think would probably be the best for the country, a lot of the groundwork was laid and done by Justin Trudeau, and I think that deserves to be acknowledged. But alas, maybe unprecedented in our lifetimes, but definitely not in the history of Canada and the United States. Would love for Canada, US, and Mexico to practically dissolve their borders in a perfect world. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want that at all. I would not want that at all. No, thank you. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, no, I wouldn't like that at all. Stay on your side of the line. Stay on your side of the line. I do not know. No, I don't know. In a perfect world, still no. Stay on your side of the line. Get out of now. There's like the differences between the cultures are between Mexico and the United States, and Canada and Mexico and the United States. Like, there's no way you'd have a better time having no borders between Australia and Canada than you would the United States and Canada. Hell, the main reason we're even Canada is because a bunch of people that were all part of, like, the fucking colonies didn't like what the United States was doing when they were building America in the first place, so they moved north into Canada. Like, one of our defining factors that made us Canada in the first place was, we're not that, no, whatever that's going on down there, we don't like that. There's too much of a philosophical difference between... We're going to talk about this more on... Put a pin in this. Al, put a pin in this. Put a pin in this. Put a pin in this. Put a pin... No, well, no, we can't. We have to have borders between Canada and America, because did you see what you guys did to your side of the falls? Of Niagara Falls? It's a mess. It's a dumpster fire. No. Loyalist Days remembers. Put a pin in that, Al, for Tuesday. We'll talk about this more on Tuesday, because, like, some of the ideological differences I think are really, really interesting and really cool to point out. And I just think that there's an angle that I think a lot of people from the United States don't quite understand. And I want to try and go through it in, like, a positive, like, teachable moment. Like, not a oh, Americans are stupid, but like just a teachable moment of, like, please, I beg of you. So we're gonna do that on Tuesday. All right, let's keep going with this.
Many are concerned about the national interest. So thank you both for being here, and Mr. Chrétien, particularly thank you for your presence, which is an honor to Mr. Harper. I would like to...
which is an honor to Mr. Harper that Chrétien showed up. The sass is already started, and it's coming from the guy doing the interview. That's fucking wonderful. I would also like to point out that Jean Chrétien is doing this, and how old is this man? He was born in 1934. He's 92. And he's just like, yeah, what's up?
Begin with a question for both of you as two Canadians who have devoted your careers to strengthening Canada. You both had a strong interest in the Arctic. Mr. Chrétien, from your time as Minister of Indian Affairs and Northern Development, and later driving the creation of major national parks in the north. And Mr. Harper, you had an Arctic policy that included a focus on, from our standpoint, focus on searching for the lost ships of the Franklin expedition, but as part of a broader use it or lose it northern sovereignty strategy. Yet when you look at our history, including recent history, I think it's fair to say Canada has failed to adequately defend its national interest in the Arctic. So why was the Arctic important to both of you? I wonder if you could just elaborate on your interest.
First, I was a minister responsible for more than 6 years. Minister of Indian and Northern Affairs for more than 6 years. And I developed a great liking to go to the north. And I enjoyed very, very.
Why did they point him this direction instead of the side that he talks out of? Why did they point him this way? Who did this? God damn it. I fucking love Chrétien.
Very much. I went in all the places. And I knew about the history of the north because that land was not clearly in the hand of Canadians. And it is under the time of Louis Saint Laurent that Gordon Robertson, who was the deputy minister of my department, started to move some Eskimo from northern Quebec to Grise Fjord to clearly establish the presence of the Canadian on the Ellesmere Island. And it is quite recent that it was challenged at that time by the Danish. And the move made by Mr. Saint Laurent led me to visit Grise Fjord.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know what he's talking about at all, he's talking about a lot of this has to do with the Arctic relations that Canada has with Denmark. Again, you may or may not be aware that Denmark and Canada were at war and had one of the longest running wars ever. Now, it's kind of a bit of a meme, and we ended that war with Denmark together, of course. We signed a treaty about it when Russia invaded Ukraine as like a solidarity thing to be like, yeah, this isn't a part of what we're doing here. So we're gonna stop this for now. But there has been contention between Canada and Denmark in the past. So I don't want to pretend that doesn't exist. And so, like, imagine Greenland got gifted to Canada to bait the United States into trying something colossally stupid. I think that would be up to the Greenlanders. I don't think the Greenlanders want to be Canadian. I think the Greenlanders want to be Greenlanders. Which I think is totally valid. I think that's fine. But hey, we would take care of them. And like Denmark's got really great scores in like everything. So, I mean, why change, right? You know what I mean? But that would be very funny. I also don't think that you need to bait the United States into trying something colossally stupid. They seem to be doing just fine on their own. I don't think they need any help. It was the Arctic, so it wasn't a very hot war. Yeah, exactly. Wasn't the war where you kept exchanging booze on an island? That was part of it, yes. That's the main part of it that everybody knows. Yes.
And I was the first minister to go there ever. And this week I received in my office the grandson of the mayor when I visited that in 1970, who had been the premier of Nunavut. So my connection with the North go far, and I'm happy that it's clearly Canadian. And now some people look at Canada and would like to take it over from us. But we stand on guard, don't worry.
Okay, so if anybody doesn't get that, that's part of our national anthem. It's we oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee is part of part of our national anthem. There aren't penguins in that direction, Athens. Very cute though. You've got guys, you've gone the wrong direction. You've gone the wrong direction. It's the other way. That's polar bear territory, not penguin territory. Imagine Donald Trump trying to tariff polar bears. Also, the one of the things that's nice about this is you kind of get to see how the work of prior prime ministers affects what current prime ministers are able to do. So we're only able to do a lot of what we're doing in the Arctic when it comes to the working with Australia for their security surveillance program, as well as increasing our military presence and our military capabilities in the Arctic. A lot of that has to do with Jean Chrétien's work back in the day when he was helping establish that, right?
Like I just always had unlike Mr. Chrétien, I didn't, I wasn't minister of everything at one point in time. So, but I had a long abiding interest in our history and geography.
I would like to remind everybody to thank Stephen Harper for Pierre Poilievre and for our housing. A lot of the housing issues in Canada have directly to do with the two of them combined. So thanks for that, guys. But I'm going to do my best to not just complain about Stephen Harper this entire time. I make no promises.
Geography, and especially our northern history. I'm always fascinated that the French and British actually fought naval battles in Hudson Bay. Like, it's unbelievable. It's such a great part of Canada. So look, but my concerns were different. I think the reality is, in law, Canada took possession of those territories in 1870 and then 1880. But the reality is Canadian sovereign presence is extremely spotty, especially up until the 1950s. And even after that, we've kind of had periods of neglect. So, I believe...
That's fair. I agree with him. I think that's an accurate assessment.
That in the geopolitical circumstances I was taking office in, that there were long-run threats to the North were actually quite serious. I think I think I've been borne out in that regard. I didn't anticipate them being our southern neighbor. But,
fair.
But nevertheless...
God damn it. If there's anything that you need to understand about Canadian politics, about who we will vote for in premier positions or prime minister positions, we like someone with a sense of humor. If you do not have a sense of humor, you are very likely not to win that election. That is one of the reasons why I am very skeptical that without, especially as soon as Justin Trudeau stepped down, I did not think that Pierre Poilievre was going to win that. Even without Donald Trump fucking, deciding to try to slam his mushroom dick around. So regardless of that, just Trudeau stepping down, I think, was enough. Because when you put somebody like Pierre Poilievre beside Jean Chrétien, or even beside Stephen Harper, who's a little bit of a wet towel, he's still got jokes. But then you put him beside somebody like Mark Carney, who's got fucking charisma, and he's got fucking jokes. Yeah, no, you're not winning that, you fucking wet sock of a person. Hello. Take a joke, not be a joke. Yeah, right? If you can't take a joke, you're not gonna have a good time in Canadian politics. Fucking Sean Fraser comes to mind. That man is hilarious.
We have to be able, my view, especially now.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt him again. I'll put it back just so we can hear it, but I wanted to bring up really quick that I really, really, really do think we need to spend more money on public broadcasting that operates as its own entity, that can host more debates with politicians and have these politicians basically be required to go to like a certain number of debates every year. Because like there's nothing that would destroy fucking Pierre Poilievre harder and give the NDP a better chance than fucking allowing them to just eviscerate Pierre Poilievre in debate on TV. Also, I want to watch it. So please give that to me. Thank you. Please and thank you. All right, I apologize, Mr. Harper. Please continue. Because as much as I might dislike some of the stuff that Stephen Harper did, I still think he's not worse than some of the crazy batshit insane shit we've seen coming out of the United States recently. I don't think he's as bad as Danielle Smith in Alberta right now. On the other hand, also, not the sham wow guy who was trying to get a political position in Texas recently. He lost, so that's nice.
Anticipate them being our southern neighbor, but nevertheless, we have to be able, my view, especially now.
Borg, you can clip things on YouTube, just so you know. So if you want to clip the quote of "wet sock of a person," please, by all means, do.
We have to be able to do surveillance and reach and ultimately defend all of our land, seas, and skies without the support of allies. And I think we're entering an era where with new technology, that's actually quite feasible for us to do. So it's turned out to be more timely than I thought.
I don't mean to be that guy, but the question was actually about what he did during his administration, and he didn't actually tell us what he did during his administration. I'm trying not to be that guy that's just like, oh, I'm just gonna sit here and shit on Harper. I don't mean that. But I just happened to notice that Chrétien was like, no, we did this, we had this relocation programs, we had this, I did this, I was directly a part of this, I recently had this conversation, and then Harper's like, well, Fuck. Come on, man.
Absolutely. I don't doubt for a minute that most Canadians have a deep loyalty to their country.
So Canadians would, Victoria asked, so Canadians would vote for a stand-up comedian with little regard to political opinion? No, not culturally. So Canadians tend to favor somebody who's got jokes, not somebody who only has jokes, right? Having a degree of pragmatism and a degree of what you're doing, but you know what you're doing enough that you have you can make, being good-natured is generally something that we prefer. That's why you can see such a big polling difference between Pierre Poilievre now that all the contention around the election is over and people are getting a chance to get to know Mark Carney. Usually what happens is like what you'll see in the United States relatively often is you'll see when a politician gets in, a new president gets in, a new prime minister gets in, they're riding a wave of people being excited about them being there, and then that wave starts to fall off. You're not seeing that with Mark Carney. As people have gotten to know Mark Carney more and more people are siding with him, including opposition. So that includes for example, the conservative premiers are willing to work with him, right? So you've got stuff like that going on. And the progress that is feasible progress that is really, really helping, as opposed to, again, Pierre Poilievre, who's got a whole fuckload of nothing to his name. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? But we will pick somebody who is less competent if they have jokes and the other person is an absolute wet fucking towel. We will favor somebody who's at least a little bit charismatic over somebody who might be a little bit more qualified if those things are comparatively close. Don't lie, I sent that shit to FTFE myself to make sure he saw it. All right, let's keep going.
The outbursts of patriotism, every loyalty to their country. Absolutely. I don't doubt for a minute that most Canadians have a deep loyalty to their country. You see outbursts of patriotism every now and then. Recently with the Four Nations Cup last year, just an enormous
That was the
outpour.
best, Connor McDavid, that was the best moment of 2025.
Absolutely. Connor, hopefully we have...
Hockey, what?
If only a prime minister could do something like that.
Hopefully we'll have another Connor McDavid best moment in the next couple of weeks as Canada, of course, competes, Team Canada in the Olympics. But outside of sports, how do we reinvigorate a sense of Canadian patriotism, especially following years in which we were told that Canada is a country without a core identity, without a mainstream? How do we get Canadians excited about the country?
Well,
That is something that specifically the Conservative Party has been pushing, and definitely not something that the Liberal Party, and definitely not Mark Carney, has been pushing. I will point out that this did happen a month ago. This happened in February 3rd. So just so you're aware, I think that Canada has struggled with its identity, and one of its but there has been like a through line of core Canadian identity that is, we're not the United States. And that has been like a through line throughout Canada's entire history of being like, we're not Americans, for the love of God. And then the other thing is just generally being polite, and then also fucking being very good at being the guys you call. There's also like a little bit of a thing for when it comes to like peacekeeping that we've kind of wobbled on a little bit in the last handful of years, and I'm kind of hoping we kind of redirect that a little bit and that comes back. I think that might be the direction that Mark Carney is going to start driving us in a little bit, especially when it comes to Palestine and Israel. But I mean, a lot of what I was sort of expecting to happen might get all fucking tossed out the window because fucking, you know, it's bomb, because Donald Trump's fucking insane, which we'll talk about more on Tuesday. So like and subscribe and join us for Tuesday. But alas.
let me just tackle that one quickly. Look, we are living in an age. The one thing, and I travel around the world on business now, still do a bit of politics. The one thing about this world, whether we like it or not, we are living in an age of nationalism.
I don't want to be that guy, but Harper's ties to business and his political decision-making are really, really unfortunately interconnected to some degree. That's kind of looking. So again, maybe we'll talk about it more on another day, but if you're interested, I recommend checking that out.
Everywhere. Revive nationalism. And there is no reason why this country should not be as nationalistic as anyone else.
No, we shouldn't. No. How about we don't do that? How about Canadians are perfectly fine being as patriotic as they already are, and we're just not obnoxious about it. We don't want hyper-nationalism. Canada is notoriously not hyper-nationalistic. That's why we don't fucking get really upset if we don't win the gold in the Olympic hockey. We're not really that worried about it. It's fine. We're not that kind of fucking concerned. But no, we do not want to, like, if we're living in a world where everybody wants this bring back the golden age of how great our country was, then we're not looking forward, and we want to look forward, not backwards. And this is something that I think a lot of conservatives have a problem with. And I'm not talking about extreme conservatives, right? I think this is something that the extremists, like right-wing extremists, really, really prey on when it comes to conservatives. And it's that, like, this idea that we're trying to conserve something that's good, and instead of trying to conserve something that's good, you're looking back at something and then with rose-colored glasses as if that thing from before was better than what you have. right? So you're no longer trying to conserve something that's good that currently exists. You're actually trying to backpedal and move backwards for things instead of looking forwards. And trying to go backwards is not gonna move you forward. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't things in the past that we can look at and we can learn from and bring back, but you can't go backwards. You have to learn from those things and then try to re-implement them in the present and in the future. If you want an example of this, look at part of Mark Carney's housing plan. Once upon a time, they did these plans where they were like, hey, here's basically these pre-built houses. We're gonna pre-build them for cheap. We're gonna use Canadian shit to do it. And fucking Mark was like, yeah, let's just do that again, but update the plans for the houses. And like update the electrical and update the shit that's in here so that way it's all better and all good and the electricity is better and cheaper and yada 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 yada. So there's no problem with seeing something in the past, looking at it and being like, hey, that was a good thing. Can we revamp it and bring it back to fucking going forward? But if you try to just backpedal, if you try to go backwards, you end up making the mistakes that I believe the United States is currently making. They're trying to go back to something that's not even real in the first place. It's an image in their mind of what they think the past was like. And the majority of the people in the United States that are imagining this past weren't alive to remember it in the first place. And it like greatly benefits specific people within that sphere as well, right? So that's a whole other problem. But I think conservatives would do good for themselves and insulate themselves a little bit from right-wing extremism by saying, hey, look, we still want to move forward. So we want to conserve the things that we like, but if there's things that we like that are gone, we need to think of ways to take those things and re-implement them now, because they're not going to work now. Not as they were. You need to fucking update them once in a while. But it's just something that I think that gets, I think it's taken for granted, and I just think that there are a lot of really good conservative people out there that get taken for a fucking ride and get fucking scammed. Right?
We have a lot to be proud of. It's a tremendous country.
Sure, we do.
Just about any person and almost anywhere in the world would love to be here, to have the circumstances of our country. Well, we have a great history. Obviously, we have a great land, a tremendous, gift of Providence.
We have some really cool things in our history that are really great, and I recommend checking out Heritage Moments. They're all available on YouTube, so if you're curious about those, and you want to learn a little bit about Canada, check out the Heritage Moments. They're really neat.
Land, but we have a great history. And, there's been so much emphasis in the past, let's say decade, about all the things we've done wrong. Okay, fine. But look, all the things we've done wrong have been things that like the things we've done right, that we have built upon.
God, Harper. God damn it, dude. Yes, there are some things that we have done wrong. And there are things that we need to acknowledge that we did wrong and then rectify and change and adapt. And I think if Canada should be proud of anything, it should be proud of that part. It should be proud of being able to acknowledge that something wasn't done or handled in the best way that it could have been handled in, and we want to work towards rectifying that, changing what we can to enable people to, again, conserve what needs to be conserved and move forward on those things, right? Remember when I said fucking Stephen Harper was Canadian the fucking probate? What's the fucking word? The prototype? He's prototype Trump. That's what he is.
We corrected mistakes, and we built, I think, quote, Mr. Chrétien, the best country in the world. So, let's be proud. And our pride doesn't have to be just, not liking Donald Trump. We should be proud of who we are as a people.
I mean, I agree with that, but also at the same time, that's kind of a nothing burger. Like, if you want us to be proud of things, what did your administration do during your time in office that people should be proud of? And he's struggling to find stuff like that because you think that would be the answer, right? Proto-Trump. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying that he never did anything. I'm more finding it odd that he's not bringing up anything that he did during his time. Again, not to say that he didn't do anything. I don't know. This is not the way I would handle this question, I guess. Polite clap.
Around the world, they look at us. There was an international survey a few months ago asking the people, if you had to start anew your life, where would you like to go? And around the globe, Canada came first.
Why does the how old is he? Why is the fucking 92-year-old man more up to date on the way the rest of the world views Canada? Immediately such a better answer. Fucking immediately such a better answer. Oh my god.
And you know, it is the others who see us this way. One of the problems is we look back all the time, rather than look at the future that we can build together. Over the weekend, I wrote a book about this American who wanted to take Canada over in 1780, 76, at the time of the Revolution.
Right.
The guy with
Benedict Arnold.
No, he came.
Yeah.
But at that time,
Fucking Harper. Benedict Arnold, no. God damn it, I fucking love Chrétien, dude. He's so funny. He's just like, no, like not a fuck. He's so no. Benedict Arnold. He has such a similar accent to the Cajuns in Louisiana. That's the Quebecois in him. That's the France. That's the French in there. All right, I'm gonna. Jesus Christ. Fucking goddamn it, he's so funny. Alright, I gotta take a break. I'll be right. We've already been live for an hour, so I'll be BRB. Oh god. Okay, I doth returned. Make sure everything's working, everything's going. Okay, well, we're good, we're Gucci. Let's crank this shit back up so we can hear these guys. And welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Did I miss anything? Oh, a stretch. Oh, bless. Thank you very much. Oh, we gotta move that. That's not. That needs to be in a different spot. Well, shit. Alright, well. Ugh. I miss the good old days back when Canada was under the boot of the British. That was before we were Canada. Did you take your med to control your hyperactive nature? Hey, listen, dude, fuck off. Benedict Arnold's such a traitor that even the Canadians don't want him. Alright, where were we? Jean Chrétien told him no. Alright, let's go.
Or in 1780, 76, at the time of the revolution.
Right.
The guy went...
Benedict Arnold.
No, he came.
Yeah.
But at that time, they wanted to take us over.
Yeah.
And you know what was Canada at that time? There was no Anglophone. We were a colony of England. And the Americans were afraid that they were going to use Canadians to fight them in alliance with the natives who tended to be with the Brits at that time. So if we, the Francophone, had decided...
Borg says Canada was Canada in the 40s but still obeyed the British. No. My guy, no. If you're talking about that, a lot of the Canadian platoons in World War II, in which Canada was already a part of World War II in the 30s, then yes, there were British generals that tended to be in charge of overall orders, but the Canadians generally operated on their own. This is a gross misunderstanding, and one of the reasons why this is a gross misunderstanding is because the Americans and the British at the time were the people who were in control of most of the media. And so because the two of you were in charge of most of the media, the Canadians didn't have much of a say about what was recognized or not. If you want to learn more about this, go look up what Winston Churchill was doing at the time to try to manage and mitigate the Canadian view, because we almost pulled out of the war on more than one occasion because of how pissed all of the Canadians were about how they were being treated overseas. And how they were not, their successes were not being acknowledged, and a lot of their successes were actually stolen and treated as British just knockoffs as opposed to an independent nation. Like, we literally almost left World War II just to let you all fucking deal with it yourselves. That's how pissed off the Canadians were. I recommend learning a little bit about it. It's very, very interesting. But you can look at, like, some of Churchill's letters, and he talks about it. So no, absolutely not. That was never the case. That's propaganda, my friend.
To join the American Revolution, all you guys would have been obliged to go back to England because the loyalists could come to Canada. There was no Canada at that time. But
yeah, by the way, for anybody who doesn't remember, one of the main reasons why the Americans even won the Civil War is because of the French, and because Canada before it was Canada, did not interfere.
The French Canadian that controlled the land. So if we were to look at what we've built together, rather than what divides us, it is a problem. And be proud of what we can offer. You know, when you're in the geographic business, apparently. So
I would really like it if CBC would fucking hire somebody to write transcripts for their fucking videos, so we're not using the fucking Google auto fucking translate and the auto Google shit. Like, your CBC News, you should be able to afford that. Please and thank you.
So I claim that when I was Minister of Indian and Northern Affairs, responsible for park, and when I was Prime Minister, I made more land aside for conservation and national park than the number of acres they have in France. And we did a bit of that too. We're the only country who can talk like that. And you have to be proud, you know. We're political opponents, but we're not enemies, not today. Anyway. And because he's afraid of the Shongan.
Oh my god! Alright, hands up in the chat if you understood that joke and reference that he just made. First off, this man has already made like joke. He is like fucking bang, bang, bang. I will remind you that this man is 92 years old and he's got fucking bangers. In chat, did you understand the joke he just made? We're not political opponents. Not today anyway, because he's afraid of the Shawinigan handshake. So, the Shawinigan handshake is... Jean Chrétien, when he was prime minister, had some people getting up in his face, and he fucking choked a bitch. And it was called the Shawinigan handshake because he was born and raised in Shawinigan Falls, Quebec. Let me see if it must be in here, right? It must be. Let me just. Let's see. Here we go. In early 1996, the federal government launched an advertising program to increase the presence of Canada in Quebec, a policy that Chrétien believed would avoid a repeat of the near defeat of 1995 and was to lead eventually to the sponsorship scandal, which we can talk about another time. As part of his Plan B for combating Quebec separatism, in a speech in January of 1996, Chrétien endorsed the idea of petitioning Quebec in the event of a oui vote in another referendum, stating all of the regions of Quebec that voted no would remain part of Canada, regardless of what the Quebec separatists thought. On February 15th, 1996, Chrétien was confronted by a protester named Bill Clenett during a walkabout in Hull, Quebec. Chrétien responded with a chokehold, which was referred to by the press as the Shawinigan handshake after Chrétien's hometown. So Chrétien, by the way, was, after an investigation, was deemed to have not done anything wrong. But also there was some admonishments as to where the fuck was the security during this situation. There's a picture of it. That's Jean Chrétien there grabbing Bill. Oh my god. Whoops, I didn't mean to close that. Reopen. Boop. Let's go back. Wonderful. Bill Clenett. Chokehold executed on February 15th, 1996. Oh my god, there's like a whole other thing, like an aftermath and legacy. In his 2007 autobiography, Chrétien described his reaction to Clenett's approach as stemming in part from the trauma of November 5th, 1955 assassination attempt by André Dallaire. Quote, my reaction was instinctive and probably angrier than it would have been otherwise, end quote. Bill Clenett later stood as a Quebec Solidaire candidate for the National Assembly of Quebec in the riding of Hull, but ended his political career after 4 unsuccessful attempts. The epithet and incident remained enduring popular local lore in Shawinigan decades after the incident. Following the incident, popular Canadian TV sports personality Don Cherry commented that he liked politics being direct in this manner. Of course he did. And the performance of Chrétien in particular, Shawinigan microbrewery Tour du Diable, whatever, has released an award-winning beer named Shawinigan Handshake, with Prime Minister Jean Chrétien strangling Cherry on its label in honor of the local lore. Since the incident, many celebrities and politicians have been jokingly held by Chrétien in the famous chokehold when visiting him in Shawinigan. This included Cherry, politician Michael Ingateff, and comedian Rick Mercer, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Yeah, no, like there's a whole thing about it. The Shawinigan handshake is like beloved. So yes, that is he's saying that yeah, we're not enemies, not today anyway, because he's afraid of the Shawinigan handshake, and that's why Harper's like, oh no, don't do it. That's the joke. Look at him. He even went to move to grab him. It was great.
That. And you have to be proud, you know. We're political opponents, but we're not enemies. Not today, anyway. And because he's afraid of the Shawinigan. You know,
Wonderful.
no, but we have lived something that is an example to the world.
Yeah.
To have two official languages that, you know, we have treated the native better than the Americans.
True.
Not as well as we should have, but much better. We never sent the army to kill them. And
Needs to be improved on. There's still stuff and work to be done, but acknowledging that we're doing something and it's something that was not good and needs. This is what I mean. This is exactly what I was saying earlier. The thing that Canadians should be proud of is the fact that we were able to fucking acknowledge that the problem exists. Because if you can't acknowledge that the problem exists, you can't fucking fix it. Which is one of the things that I think we need to talk about on Tuesday.
we sent some missionaries who wanted to take them to heaven, and it was a controversy apparently. But, you know, and the French were here, and the Anglophone came, and we have now 50% of the population came from all the nations of the world.
Yeah.
And they will never change, you know, their citizenship for anything else. Mm-hmm. And it's why everybody gave everything they have to have the privilege to come and share our so-called miseries.
You know, Jean talked about the defense of Canada by French Canadians during the American Revolution. Our organization, Government of Canada, RCGS, we spent a lot of time celebrating the fact that all these different groups of Canadians, French, English, Native, came together to fight in the War of 1812, which is a great moment in history. So we've created this country, created it through joint action, through joint defense, through joint economic building. But I would say that if I can, I gotta get a dig in.
Yeah, Megan, like I said earlier, one of the things that identifies Canada, and you will notice Canadians do this regardless of the topic, we will specify that we did something differently than the Americans, regardless. So that is a Canadianism that's coming out of him, a particularly old one.
Here, I just say that the American Revolution, the War of
It's not meant as a defensive thing. It's meant as a... Well, it's meant as a defensive thing, but probably not in the way that you might think it is.
Action through joint defense, through joint economic building. But I would say that if I can, I gotta get a dig in here. I just say that the American Revolution, the War of 1812 are probably better examples of Canadian unity than the Plains of Abraham. So we'll just mention that.
You may have a point. Well, and the incredible role, of course, that Indigenous...
Yeah, but we cannot rewrite history.
Yeah.
I was not there to wake up Morecambe when Wolfe came in the middle of the night. And the Brits tend to arrive in the middle of the night. They did that in the Falkland about 50 years ago. You remember?
Yeah.
So be aware, be awake.
Perfidious Albion.
But you're right, and the Indigenous contribution to the War of 1812, which I think Canada would have been lost without the warriors who intervened.
We burned the White House, but we will not repeat it.
It's part of it's been torn down by the current incumbent.
They're goofing on Trump's ballroom, if you're not sure about what that means.
Riffing off that, Mr. Harper, the last time you were on our stage, you said that Canadian sovereignty must be preserved at any cost, and that the country must be prepared to make any sacrifice necessary to ensure we remain an independent country. I'm wondering if that analysis still stands.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, John has obviously his history as a Canadien Français. My ancestors came to this country in 1774, 1 year before the American Revolution. My great-great-great-great-grandfather led militia efforts in New Brunswick during both the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812.
Oh, they're talking about the White House, so I'm talking about the room that they tore down a chunk of the White House to build a golden ballroom or some shit. That was the joke that Harper was making.
12 to fight for the crown. So it goes, for someone like me, it goes back a long way. Yeah, I think the countries, I love the United States, but I'm not an American. I think our country's different, worth preserving. You know, I don't want to suggest that, you know, we should go around kind of accepting unacceptable costs, but the fact of the matter is that the country's worth preserving, that I think there are costs that are going to have to be paid under the current circumstances to do that, but there's also enormous opportunities. It's not all cost. There's a lot we can do that we haven't done to make ourselves more competitive, more wealthy, more connected to the world, and this is an opportunity for us to take advantage of these circumstances. So let's do some nation building.
Mr. Chrétien?
You know, I'm not discouraged at all. I think that we're living a very important time in the world. It's a big shift. It is probably what I would call the beginning of the end of the American empire.
Yeah.
And it has to come. All the empires change. So now, you know, it's accelerating. But we are in a very good position because we have the land, we have, you know, the best educated people in the world. Do you know that? And we have the tolerance that is a great value. We are the sharing that does not exist in many other countries. We have less very, very rich people per capita, but less very, very poor people too in Canada.
Yes,
and
the balance is better.
we have the unity that we have to fight all the time about that. It's there and it will always be there. But we have managed quite well to survive, you know, and at this moment, our friend from the South has created a mood that a Canadian have never been so proud to be Canadian.
Yes.
You know, in my province of Quebec, it's still the same thing today. You know, the desire to have a referendum is very low in Quebec. Don't know what the hell is going on in Alberta.
Fucking knew he was gonna say that. Son of a bitch. Wonderful. Yeah, it's very odd to see that separatist movement that was so strong in the 90s almost disappear in 2020 and then shift all the way over to Alberta for some fucking reason. I'm not really sure I understand why there's the people in Quebec who do want to separate. Because it's like roughly like 51% of Alberta is conservative. And then the other 49% are all, like roughly 49%, are all like spattered amongst like Liberal, NDP, Green, etc., etc., etc. The other parties. I really have a hard time understanding what is the deal. Like, I don't know what they think they're gonna get from the United States. I don't know what they think they're going to fucking win on. Like, there's so much opportunity. Like, they just got a huge boon with the Liberal federal government, with Carney making deals with China about canola oil, and our conversations with India are huge boons for the plains, as it were. So the three main provinces that are in the plains are Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta. So I'm not sure I completely understand what the Alberta separatists think they're going to get or actually want, because it seems to me like whatever it is that they want, they're going to have a better time getting that thing by remaining part of Canada than throwing a tantrum to get bullied by the United States, seems to be the thing. Having fewer very, very rich people is a good thing. Yes, it is. I agree. Let's keep going.
But I have to go there. I have 500 cousins in Alberta.
I didn't sign the petition.
Any Tories did?
I'm told
I want an answer.
I'm told not.
Yeah, Harper being the one of the more successful conservative prime ministers from the Conservative Party's point of view. Not agreeing with Danielle Smith on this is a little bit more of a big deal than you might think within the Conservative Party. Harper actually still has a pretty strong sway, in my opinion. It's not that he's holding a seat or anything in that regard, it's that his opinion still matters to the people who do hold power in the within the Conservative Party. So
Anyway, we're having fun.
we're having fun.
United, don't worry.
Well, I guess just on that point, you each have dealt during your tenure as Prime Minister with the stresses of...
Can I just say something about that? I was sitting, no, not on Alberta. I just want to tell you something about Quebec. It'd be interesting to see how the election unfolds there, but I recently ran into, it was actually the airport here in Ottawa. I won't name the name, but I ran into somebody who is a very, very prominent long-term separatist. And he was saying to me, we were chatting, what do you think, this is several months ago, Harper, about what Prime Minister, what President Trump's doing. And we chatted for a moment, and I ended by saying, I say, this is the reason why we have to stick together. And he lowered his voice and said to me, I think you're right.
So interesting. Well, and yet,
You're right.
at this very moment,
We are right.
this very moment, we're...
Yay! Isn't that sweet? Look at that. Two people who have been prime ministers on opposing sides of the political line. And this is the difference, right? This is my problem with Pierre Poilievre, and I think this is a pretty big problem in the United States right now. There is no conversation happening. No, there's no reasonable conversation that's actually going on. So I don't like Pierre Poilievre's style of politics because it's just denialism. It's my job to oppose whatever everyone is doing, and that is not what the opposition is supposed to do. The opposition is supposed to offer different options, not just we're here to halt all progress, which is the way that Pierre Poilievre behaves, which I do not like. I do not like that at all.
At the moment, we need to be strong and
It's
united.
useless.
We are once again facing forces that would seek to pull us apart. And I guess based on your experiences, Mr. Chrétien, with Quebec sovereignty and Mr. Harper with Western alienation, how do you think Canada can strengthen national unity? What can we do at this moment? Those of us who love the country, deeply invested in the future of the United Canada, what can we do to address that sentiment in those places?
I'm going to answer the question quick first. I think what Mark Carney is doing by getting deals that are very, very lucrative and beneficial and very, very money-making around the world for Alberta, Manitoba, and Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan is a really, really good thing and a really, really big deal. So again, like I said earlier, the canola oil deal for China is huge. It's huge for the plains. So I think doing things that are directly one-to-one beneficial, that the people who live there are going to see the direct influence of that influx of economic stimulus is going to be is a huge factor in my opinion.
The problem is we don't know enough the history of Canada.
Yeah,
I'm
agree with that.
amazed by the ignorance of the people. When I refer to the fact that at the time of the American Revolution, we decided to stay in Canada.
Yep.
Why? It's because the king of the day guaranteed to the French the language
Yep.
and the Catholic religion. And the Pilgrims of Boston were mad at the British because
And the uranium, yes, that's the fucking uranium in Saskatchewan. Oh, fucking huge, dude, huge. That's massive. That's it's crazy.
they had made a deal like that. And they wanted to take over Canada. And I was reading a book this weekend, written by Madame Dohan. She's a journalist from Ottawa. It's called He Failed to Conquer. It's a great book about that period of time. And, we don't know that.
We need better access to Canadian history in our media. We have too much American TV. Period. There's too much of it. It's too much, and it overwhelms fucking everything. We need more Canadian artists. We need like musical artists, painters, storytellers. Heated Rivals is the best step in the most correct direction that we need to be taking. So we need to take that and we need to fucking run with it, my guys. That is what we need to do. We also really, really, really need to do something about the National Post, because it is an American conglomerate masquerading an American conglomerate with a vertical monopoly that is masquerading as local news, particularly in rural areas. We need to fucking do something about that, because that is a fucking problem. And you're gonna say that I sound like a fucking conspiracy theorist, but you need to go and watch my video about Chatham Media. Go and look it up. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. I did a whole video on it. Go and check it out.
That it is because of that we still speak French. And they say that we're miserable. You know, my colleague said that. I said, it's terrible. We were 60,000 French Canadian in 1763, when by the Treaty of Paris we were ceded to the Brits.
Yeah.
Miserable that we are, we went from 60,000 to 9 million. Mm-hmm. It's not that bad.
Canada could use some expansionism within our own borders. I don't mean we should go and take over the United States. I mean, like, we could use more industry and better infrastructure moving northward and expanding a little bit and making our population a little bit bigger. And that would be great, but we need to, like, fix some of our economy before we can actually get that far. It's not a conspiracy theory that if your evidence is good, right? See, Megan gets it. Megan Fox's giant boobs gets it. Thank you. And yes, break up monopolies, both horizontal and vertical. Please, please, please. We also need to do something about Bell and Rogers being a duopoly. That's also a problem because they're also like vertical in their areas. And so we need to do a little bit more about vertical monopolies, and we need to do a little bit more about the duopolies in the area that are problematic, i.e. Bell and Rogers. But there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. We need improvements. And it's like we should always be looking to improve. One of the things that used to frustrate me a lot about Canada and Canadian like identity and Canadian sort of perspective was that we were complacent. And we were complacent because we were like, well, yeah, but at least we're not as bad as America. And it's like, that's not a good... We should be comparing ourselves to the best of the best, not the worst of the mid-worst. No offense, America. That was my thought process at the time, and I was like 21. Give me a break.
People that in Belgium, in Switzerland, in Finland, in Sweden, in Norway, you know, and in Norway.
Yeah, Canada has one of the biggest French populations in the world, and expansions in the world.
Yeah, Canada's the second largest.
Yes, Shauno, yes. We want Tim Hortons back. Can we have Tim Hortons back? Can we have Tim Hortons back, take out all the garbage that they put in it, and make Tim Hortons like a centralized hub spot for everybody to go? And even if it's owned by the government, like I'm not even against that idea. Maybe the government just gets to own Tim Hortons at this point, and maybe they won't fucking ruin it. Good God.
Native francophone country in the world.
And Montréal, la deuxième plus grande ville française dans le monde entier.
C'est vrai, c'est vrai. So,
Shawinigan, une ville unilingue d'où je viens.
Look out, they're speaking Quebec French, guys.
never been to Shawinigan. It's one of the few.
Shocking confession.
You're missing something. we have a beautiful museum there.
The Chrétien Museum.
Called Canada in the World. And that they talk about my career. No, they put my gifts are all displayed there. And there is a great section called Madame.
He's so funny. He's like, yo, bro, come to my museum all about me, guy who was my opposition during my time in office. That's so funny. I'm going to show you guys, by the way, where Shawinigan is. Because I think you guys should know where Shawinigan is. This is Google Maps. I'm going to show you guys. This is Shawinigan, right here. Right? So there's the national park, there's Shawinigan, the town, city, whatever. There's like all that kind of shit. Now, if I zoom out, you're gonna see where it is. There's Montreal, there's Quebec, there's Ottawa, there's Vermont. It is like directly north, and there's Toronto. You'll see this is the Quebec border between the Ontario and Quebec. That's where Shawinigan is. How long would it take me to walk there? Let's see. Let's go Toronto to Shawinigan. According to Google Maps, Toronto, Ontario to Shawinigan is 8 hours by car. And if by bus, it's 16 hours. And you would have to go via rail and shit. Rail might actually be a nice trip. That might be a nice trip, actually. It takes 6 days to walk there. 155 hours. So that would take a while. And 2 days on a bike. I wonder if the bike ride is restricted due to private roads. Via the here we go. There's a trail. You could actually take this trail and bike the whole way if you wanted to. It'd be 40 hours. So it's not impossible. It's actually doable. It would be very fun, but you'd want to make it like a week-long trip. And assuming you have the capability of biking like decent amounts of distance per, like if you have any kind of bike training. Anyway, if you're ever in that area, you're going to Montreal, consider checking out Shawinigan and the history.
And about locally, and it's all Canadian.
I've never been to Canada. What's life like there? It depends on where you go. There is a lot of diversity in Canada. So if you're not used to a lot of different people who are into a lot of different things and a spattering of different culture, it might freak you out a little bit. But if you go to Toronto, it's kind of like, hustle bustle busy. Not all of it is like that, but large portions of Toronto are like that. If you go to like Northern Ontario, you're gonna find cottage country, laid back, slow going vibe, sitting by the lake, and there's nothing in the lake that's probably gonna kill you, so that's nice. Then if you go like Quebec, I'm not as familiar with, so I can't really speak on Quebec. Nova Scotia also has that almost cottagey, like it's got like a couple of busy areas, but it's got a lot of art and culture. They've got like part of their downtown is you can only go by, you have to walk. You can't, it's walkable only. You can't drive cars through it, and they do like festivals and street art all the time. I've never been to PEI. I've heard nice things about it, but I've never been there, so I can't say. And I've heard I haven't been out west very much. I do have friends that used to go like every summer out to BC, and it's also very artsy. It's got a lot of art going on. It's got some of the best art education in the area, and also a lot of like video game development happens there. So it's rather progressive in some very weird ways. There's tons of conservation areas. So if you like hiking, or if you like nature in general, you can go and check that out. There's tons of lakes that you can go to. Biking is really popular. So it really just depends on where you go. People tend to say that like Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba are boring and there's not a whole lot going on. I don't know how much I believe them. One of the biggest malls in the world is in Calgary, I believe. But it's cold in the winter time, so if you travel during the winter, make sure you're going somewhere cozy. But if you like skiing and you like hot tubbing, it's really, really nice to go hot tubbing in an open air hot tub while it's snowing out and stuff like that. That's really, really nice. It's super relaxing. If you're like a hunter or a fisher type person that likes doing fishing and fly fishing or ice fishing is an interesting experience. If you like skating, it's great. There's a lot of community places. So like, for example, in Quebec, Or Ottawa, sorry. Well, it's in Quebec too. It's in Ottawa. There's a river that runs through that is basically the dividing line between Quebec and Ontario, like the provinces. And that river freezes over every year. And every year they take care of the top so you can just ice skate down the river. And so people are constantly ice skating up and down the river, and there's like hot chocolate stands, and there's like people just hang out and chat and just vibe and hang. Like it's great. Oh, sorry, I said Calgary. It was Edmonton. Sorry, thank you for the correction. How about cycling from St. John's to Newfoundland to Vancouver in British Columbia via Lake Louise? Oh my God, that would be huge. That would be a massive. That's like Terry Fox shit. That man was running and he had a fucking fake leg. My maternal line came from North America via Canada. We had great grandparents buried on PEI. Oh, that's very interesting. I know that there's off of the coast of PEI, there's an island that's all wild horses. I think we have culture here, but the government's screwing the UK. Canada does sound like a great place to live. I'd like to travel. I love trekking in Iceland. Absolutely come and visit. Absolutely come and visit. A lot of our places where you're staying and where you're traveling and a lot of our activities are not super expensive. So like staying here and traveling around here is not very expensive. And like with where the Canadian dollar is versus the pound right now, you're gonna get a good bang for your buck. The only thing that we do lack a lot of is public transportation or like fucking trains. We need more trains. If we had more trains, we'd be doing so fucking good. But it's definitely worth a check out. I do think the UK government is screwing over the UK right now, but hopefully your people take it in another direction, which it seems to be the case. Keir Starmer and the direction that they're going in seems to be not very popular from like a local or from a national level, but also not very popular from a global level as well. So we'll see. There is the Trans-Canada Trail. There is the Trans-Canada Trail. You could do that. You could absolutely, I would love to do that. I would love to do the Trans-Canada Trail. That'd be so fucking cool. Anyway, how do you go on?
Well, I think my people might have said and whispered to me that I probably didn't have a chance.
Sorry, real quick. Megan Foxton's Giant Boob says, my grandfather was born in Canada, but his family moved back to the United States after a few years. You might be able to apply for citizenship in Canada based on that. If that's something you're interested in and you're looking at moving or something like that, you should look into that. That might very well be possible for you if that's something you're interested in.
Section called Madame Aline. And locally, and it's all Canadian.
Well, I think my people might have said and whispered to me that I probably didn't have a chance of winning in Shawinigan. Anyway, I was going to say, I don't want to get too much into the politics. I'll just say this, that, you know, in our time in office, myself and colleagues here, you know, Quebec, the support for Quebec sovereignty went to its lowest level since the early 1960s. And support for Western separation
likely not now, though.
Isn't vanished completely.
And
So, you know, look, there are people
I'm not sure
obviously
that's
in
true.
both parts of the country who think differently, but I think the reality is federal government manages this country right, puts the stress on unity and not on ideological tangents.
if you're traveling anywhere, no matter where you're going, I absolutely recommend looking up the subreddit of the space that you're going to. So there's almost a subreddit for fucking every piddly ass fucking town you can think of. Go, and if you're going to like anywhere in Canada, go and check out the subreddit for the province, the local cities, and talk to people. They're friendly. Canadians are generally friendly. So if you want to pop into one of the Canadian subreddits being like, hi, I'm looking to travel, where are some places I can check out? They'll likely answer you with like local delicacies or local like hot spots or whatever you're looking for. So backpacking across Canada is absolutely a thing you can absolutely fucking do, and you can do it on your feet. Hell yeah.
And there's no reason why we can't pull the country together at this moment.
I want to do the Trans-Canadian Trail thing with your sister. Oh no, the train is different. The train is different. The trail is like a hiking trail. The train is something a little bit different. Our train system needs love, but I would love to take a train across the whole country. That'd be super fucking cool. A little expensive.
So the two of you clearly like and respect one another. I know you've got a bit of a roadshow you've embarked upon from time to time, and despite the fact that you represent very different social and political movements, what advice do you have for the current generation of political figures to enable them to disagree with one another without stoking polarization in the country?
Just get rid of Polyev, guys. He's just a problem child. Just get rid of him. Just put him in the corner and tell him to sit down and shut up for a little while. He's the worst.
You know, the communication of today have changed.
Yeah, good point.
And the gossips of the taverns, you read them every morning on this little machine.
Yeah.
And all that is terribly negative. Terribly negative. And I don't know how we will counter that. Because you have an...
Terribly negative on top of having fucking terribly influenced by dishonest actors. I think that the solution to this is to have a fucking government-funded independent broadcasting system. I think that would really solve a lot of the problem. And also, like, have rules about, hey, listen, if you're going to be a foreign-owned newspaper or news outlet, you need to make it clear that that's what you are. You don't get to call yourself the Calgary Herald if you're owned by fucking Silicon Valley, right? You don't get to do that. That should be a rule. I feel like that would solve a lot of problems.
Article, and only the people who are negative. Very rarely you can read something under an article that refers to what is positive in the article. It's always what can be negative. And so
a lot of that comes from the money making, that it's all capitalism, and that's a bit of a problem.
That means that all the young people have that in their hands all the time, and looking at that stuff, a lot of time it was pure invention, lies, and nobody correct them.
Yep.
That will have to be corrected, I don't know. But I lived the same situation in a way. When I was elected, Parliament, we had no TV, no radio, no nothing. It was a debating society. And there was a lot more, you know, now it's on TV. So it's dull. Because, you know, they read a text prepared by somebody else. The House of Commons in my time, you had not the time to have notes, the right to have notes. If you could not speak up your mind, you could not talk. And if you lie, my God, Trump will be in trouble.
Man, having consequences for lying in the House? Wow, imagine that. That would be great. That would be wonderful. Would love to have that.
If you lied in the House of Commons and you could not prove, you know, and if somebody accused you of lying, if he cannot prove it, he was expelled of the House of Commons.
Yep.
And all these things, these values of what is the truth seem to be have disappeared. They all look with what attract attention, what is attractive for the media and the communication of today.
Makes money.
And we'll have to overcome that. But we have overcome the arrival of radio, TV, the television in the house and all that. So eventually we'll find a solution.
I think part of that is there is a social media, there's a Canadian social media called, I believe, Gander, which I've been keeping an eye on, and I'm curious to see what the rules are around it and how it ends up working, and I really hope it ends up being a positive influence.
Probably I will not be there to find it.
Look, I do think this is part of the challenge. We're entering a different age of communications, social media age. You know, we've gone through...
Bro, we have long since entered. Calling this entering is a little bit silly.
I tell, 175 years ago, however long it was, 150 years ago, when Sir John A. Macdonald was going across the country, he was...
Fucking conservatives and their obsession with John A. Macdonald. Jesus Christ. The dude was a raging racist.
Something. Like, he originally not even a train, a horse and buggy, went from town to town, got in a park, on a stump or a gazebo, and that's how he built a political campaign and built a political machine. And then We had the radio age, and we had the TV age, and we had the 24-hour news cycle, which happened in your
The
time.
24-hour news cycle is also a problem.
And then social media was just really getting a whole momentum just near the end of my time. And it's changed everything because it's a whole new mode of communications, and
It's global.
and you know, it's a new challenge for a new generation to master that. And
It's a global thing that you have in your pocket, that you have a ton of control over, that a lot of people do not know how to control, and the tools are obscure because of the algorithms. And that's a problem. How do you fix that? You have to build something from the ground up and have actual control over your algorithm. Good luck. I believe in you.
I agree. I think there's advantages, there's disadvantages. Look, I just think that
Drink for old-timey gazebo.
The next generation has to be able to combine mastery of the new modes of communication with the kind of mature lessons of political leadership. And, I'd say one of those is, doesn't matter whether you're in government or opposition. You always need to be asking yourself, if it's a policy, or in the case of opposition, if it's a statement, not just is it popular today, but how's it going to look for you in a month or a year or in 5 years' time? You've got to...
Looking ahead and thinking about what, time exists is a really good idea. If you're writing policy and you're doing speeches, you should be thinking in 4 dimensions. You should be thinking about how it sounds now. You should be thinking about what your opponents are going to say. You should be thinking about the people who are listening right now, and you should be thinking about the way people are going to view this in the future. Those are the 4 dimensions of thought. And I've talked about this before, and I keep meaning to do a video explaining it and going into greater detail, but you should, if you are doing politics, and this is what you're doing, and you're doing negotiations, you should be thinking in 4 dimensions. Of course, there is a 0 dimension, and that is, you didn't think at all, you just said a thing. So if somebody's like, hey, what's your favorite thing to put on a sandwich? And you just immediately respond with, I don't know, jelly, you didn't really think about it.
You can't be drawn into the moment of
Instinctual.
Of the X tweet. You've got
The X tweet. I like that.
And there are times, and you got to pick your battles, right? Whether you're government or opposition, there are times like now.
That's true.
Where you have to decide we're not going to fight about that. We'll fight about something. You always need to be fighting about something because the public needs to be given choices. But on big things like Canadian sovereignty, you need to work together. And there's times where the opposition needs to support the government, and the opposition needs to know that if it does that, the government is not going to exploit that to disadvantage the opposition.
Right.
So there are times where you've got to use better judgment.
No,
Yes.
I guess you
I
voted
agree.
for the Clarity Act, don't you?
I did. I not only did, I put the
You
first
talked to me
draft.
about it.
I put the first draft of it in Parliament.
Don't
The Clarity Act, by the way, is something from, way right here. After 1995 referendum, they narrowly defeated the proposal on Quebec sovereignty. Chrétien started to champion what eventually will become the Clarity Act as part of his Plan B. In August of 1996, the lawyer Guy Bertrand won a ruling in a Quebec court declaring that the sovereignty question was not just a political matter between the federal and the Quebec governments, but also a legal matter subject to court rulings. And that's a big deal. But that's what he's referring to.
I
much
voted for
credit.
it.
Show a bit of humility.
The fact that this man tells Harper to show a bit of humility after telling Harper that he should come and see his museum with all of his shit in it is so fucking funny, dude.
But on that, he was in the opposition.
Yeah, I support it.
And he supported me, and there was some problem with that, probably for him, not for me eventually. But it is something that nobody remembers. Now nobody talks about it. If you read it, it's not only a vote. The question has to be approved by Parliament of Canada.
Yep.
And if you want to separate, there is a series of steps that you have followed that are very complicated. So don't think that because one night there will be a vote, there will be a vote to go. There's a lot of steps that have.
They're talking about Alberta right now. They're basically criticizing, without saying it, they're criticizing Danielle Smith and her no confidence bullshit.
To be followed because before this thing happened. And it is because we decided that at that time. Why? Because some people were claiming that with one vote we will lose Canada. Remember that? I remember, I said, that makes no sense. You know, one of my friends in Shawinigan would forget his glasses home, and I would not be a Canadian the day after, because he would have voted. And those who were telling that one vote was enough, I used to make the joke that, you know, the NDP, I don't want to talk politics, it's a reality. Their name is an illegal name. They call themselves the New Democratic Party since 70 years. So it's not new at all. So
Yeah, maybe update.
it's advertising. And they wanted to change their name one day at their annual meeting, and they failed. You know why? Because they didn't have 2/3 of the votes. So they were willing to let go the country for one vote and not get another name than an illegal name. They needed 2/3 of the vote.
That's a good point.
Just, you know, relax. Canada is there for a long time.
Excellent. Thank you. So you're here today at Canada's Centre for Geography and Exploration, and soon the entire country will be witnessing an adventure of exploration at a level that no Canadian has ever previously achieved. The launch of Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen aboard Artemis 2, a mission to orbit the moon. He will be the first non-American to reach the moon, and he will be one of 4 people to have been the furthest from Earth of any human being ever. And he's a Canadian. And so obviously this is on a scale, you know, you talk about Bernier and Stephenson and some of the great explorers of Canada's history, but this is on a level that's completely beyond anything that they achieved. In fact, it's more than a great achievement in Canadian history, but in world history. So Mr. Chrétien, you met John Glenn, and I just wonder if you have a message for Jeremy Hansen on the eve of this incredible moment.
But you know, you're very impressed when you meet a person like that. But it was something that was a great moment. You know, when I was a younger politician at that time, and I thought it was a great day. But it had been slow on that course, and now we're starting again to look at that to see if we cannot make more progress. You know, of course, science.
More space progress because people aren't relying on the United States anymore to do that shit. Yay!
Science has made a lot.
Chesh would point out all the things Canada did in World War I that got added to the Geneva Convention as things not to do. Would I do that? Does that sound like me?
A lot of progress in the last 50 years, and we'll make a lot more. But that will change a lot of our habits in life. You know, we discussed some of the progress we made that sometimes causes problem. But to go to the moon is still very extraordinary. And to have a Canadian on the moon, it would be a great day for us.
Harper.
Yeah, I can only
ditto,
agree.
he says.
I think we were all, you know, I think of the moment, Chris Hadfield's,
Chris Hadfield's great.
on the space station, and I think one of the greatest music videos of all time is Chris Hadfield's.
You say that as a musician?
Yeah, it's from outer space. So, you know, power to him. Represent us. Just make sure that while you're up there, and I'm sure it's a joint mission that you know, Trump hasn't taken the Canadian flag down and put up the U.S. flag. So make sure we got our flag there.
It's so far so good. looks great. So,
I don't know if that if they're planning to land on the moon or orbit the moon or both. So if they're landing on the moon, sure, but if they're not landing on the moon, that wouldn't be applicable.
You have developed a genuine friendship over the past decade, and I think I speak for many Canadians when I say that when you are on stage together, you give hope to the idea that we have a lot more in common than we disagree on.
Yeah, it is nice.
You show
it is
that
nice to
there's
see.
a better way, and so thank you for your leadership of this great country, and thank you for your inspiring example today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite you now to all join us for a reception upstairs in the main gallery. And I hope you will take along one of those RCGS True North Strong donation cards when you do. So thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, that was it. Whoops. Oh, hold on. Hey, wait. Hey, yo, hey. That was it. You would suggest that Canada do its own space program? I think that would be great. I don't know what we would need to do that. So Landon, we should talk about that. We should get on a call and on a stream and talk about what Canada would need to start its own space station, and if there are any locations in Canada that would be good launching points. Because that would be really, really, really interesting. We might have to take like cost out of that equation for a little while just to hypotheticalize. Yeah, this is garlic soup that I was looking at. Don't worry about it. Garlic soup. Here, I'll give you guys the link to the garlic soup. So if you guys want garlic soup, here you go. You can check that out. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us or me. I think it's great to be able to see politicians being able to actually have reasonable fucking conversations with each other now, which is nice. On the other hand, there are things that you can be critical of without fucking going to war over it. And it seems to me that a lot of politicians are struggling to get along with each other and struggling to actually like shake hands and do what they believe is best for the country as opposed to what's best for themselves. I'm looking at you, Pierre Poilievre, you fucking loser. God, that guy fucking sucks. He fucking wet sock of a man. Fuck off. He's so bad. God, go away. You're the worst. Work with the French on a space program. Yeah, I know that there's a little bit of launch capability. There's definitely, like, Canada's the worst place to launch rockets from. Yeah, we're not exactly in a good location for that. We do have a really strong space aero projects. And we can invest a little bit more in those. So maybe we don't get to have a good launch point, but we can build and we can experiment, and we're very good at that. In fact, we were quintessential to the moon landing. As Canadians, as well as the ISS and the little Canada arm waving at people. Hi! So, that would be cool. That would be nice. His Space Karen and his incompetent SpaceX team have put off for a number of years the third mission to land on the moon. What a bunch of dicks. What a bunch of losers. They suck. Canadian alcohol to be less expensive. Can you guys just join the EU? I don't know if we're going to join the EU. We might be made an exception for a couple of things, and that might be one of them. So if you want Canadian products at a store near you, you know what to do. You know what to do. Write a letter. But yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to get on out of here. I'll be back tomorrow for Dumbfuck Friday. There's some silly things to talk about. We're going to have a good time. And I'll be playing more Pokemon on Twitch tomorrow morning as well. So if you want to join for that, that'll be a good time. Debate Hub on Saturday we're talking philosophy, and we're going to be talking about law and policing, which is kind of a big deal, especially when you're talking about philosophy. So join us for that if you're interested in that. I'll be joined, of course, by Barry and Opie, and it'll be a grand old time. Also, there is a debate now scheduled for the 21st, which is a Saturday, over on Debate Hub, so go and subscribe over there if you're interested in debates. And the debaters are going to be FTFE and Dapper Dinosaur. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you hit the bell and subscribe and all that good shit. Consider supporting. Thank you so much if you do support monetarily. That's great. Greatly appreciated. And if you're not able to support monetarily, leaving me a comment and sharing the video is some of the best things you could possibly do. And don't forget to like. Liking actually really helps a lot. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. And join me on Tuesday for a little bit of an in-depth, a little bit of a difficult conversation. Thank you so much. I'm going to get out of here, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Have a good day, everyone.